Hey guys, welcome to another Visionary Male Leaders Live. I'm Dimitri Wakuf, leadership coach and one of the co-authors in this amazing book, which became bestseller in 5 different countries, 3 different continents. And we're doing this live for the third week. We start the third week of this live. And today I'm together again with Sarah Bellorini, the heart of the project, and another co-author, Rick Charlton. Today we're going to talk about him. He's going to be the star, even though he's super humble person. But today, Rick, sorry, but you're going to be the star of today's conversation. And we're going to talk about leadership with him and also about something called Ubuntu. I'm going to give after that the word to Rick to talk more about it and how to actually create this emotional intelligence through Ubuntu to become a better leader, more effective leader, and to serve the world in a better way. So, Sarah, as every time I'm giving the word to you, tell me, how do you know this amazing guy, and actually, why did you decide that he can be part of this book?
Thank you, Dimi. Hey, Rick.
Hello.
And hi everyone. Thank you for joining us, Rick, and everyone who's watching on live or the replay. So Rick and I met on LinkedIn, and Rick's just everything about Rick, I think, is so aligned with the book and with the vision that we all have to create a world with integrated leadership, with this higher consciousness leadership. And I love that Rick has his English, and he's spent a significant amount of time in Africa, both in his childhood and in his adult professional life. And it's this integrated approach that he brings into his leadership. And he has over 30 years experience in leadership and change management. He's led large teams, like he's had up to over 100 direct reports. He's had such a rich professional background. And Rick's philosophy, which is based around Ubuntu, which is I am because we are, is very much aligned with what I consider to be visionary leadership. And one of the components of that is that it's bigger than us. You know, it's this thing that we are, it's that bigger piece. It's not the kind of the ego, fear-based, it's all about me leadership. It's that mindset and heart set and consciousness of I'm doing this because it's about that thing that's bigger than me. And Rick, to me, is a true visionary. And it's been so amazing to have you in the book and to continue this journey forward with you, Rick. So thank you so much. And I'll hand over to you.
Thanks very much. I was actually a little bit surprised to be asked to be part of the book, to be perfectly honest, and it was an absolute privilege to be fair. And I've learned a heck of a lot about how not to write. So now I know how I've got an idea now what I'm doing with it. So yeah, thank you. And thanks, Dimi, as well. I think the opportunity to talk about this thing that is really quite close to my heart. It's around, in a nutshell, all Ubuntu is about is, you know, treating people the way you want to be treated yourself. And and I think there's one of the great proverbs is that if you lead with the attributes of a good father, then people will follow you anywhere. So, and I'm not talking about fathering the people that you work for. That would just be mental. But I think it's more about it's more about sort of just truly caring for people, appreciating who they are and what they're there for. And one of the concepts one of the things in the book that I pretty much open with is that management and leadership are different. And there's a misconception often not really seen, and is that you know you think you've got manager in your title, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're a leader. You can't manage, you know, you can't manage people in the same way as you manage systems, processes, or pieces of kit. And because systems and processes will basically give you an output based on your input, and normally sometimes the input might be just pressing a button, and you can't do that with people. And you have to lead people. People need to feel inspired. They've got hopes and aspirations. They've got their own agenda. They've got their personal reasons for doing what they do. And I don't think you can properly lead people unless you truly understand the people that you're leading. And you've got to not only understand them. I think one of the concepts within Ubuntu is around viewing that person's world from within their shoes and understanding what it is that makes them tick, what it is that in their background, in their history, in their life that has led them to who they are. And that's one of the most powerful questions that I use in my coaching. Is I just ask people, "Who are you?" And
Yeah. That's a great question, amazing question, Rick, and that would be my question towards you. Who are you?
who am I? Right? Who am I?
Yeah.
I'm a father. I've got 4. I'm a father of 4, 3 adults and 1 who is just about to do her GCSEs. All 3 of them are or have been. The 3 of the older ones are or have been military. So not my influence at all. Although I was in the army, it's not my influence. They've gone that way themselves. If to be fair, I don't define myself by my work. I'm a humanitarian. I'm a conservationist. I'm an environmentalist. I'm a leader. And by leading through all of those, with all of those different lenses, you start to. I mean, humanitarianism. It's a word that's used a lot, but when you really break it down, the first word of humanitarianism is human, and then humanity. So human, humanity, humanitarian. What makes a good human? When you get to that and you get to that question and you think about, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Either Sarah or Demi, what makes a good human? It's a heck of a question, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, it is.
So I think that, yeah, go on. I think that.
Yeah, so sorry that I just hear I hear a little bit later, so that's why we get a
Right.
little bit more of that. But the idea here is, so do you ask this question or you just put it out there?
Yeah, it's out there. I mean, the question I think we all need to think about as humans is what makes us a human, and what motivates us as humans. And I think that we've got to a point where we are motivated by stuff, and it's, how much can I earn, and I want mine. It's about what the world owes me this. Why? I mean, why? I mean, there's a interesting. I was in Cameroon earlier on this year doing some work with Veterans for Wildlife, the charity that I'm the operations officer for, and we were out there on the ground, and there was actually a question that was asked of me by one of our students out there, and it was, and I never really thought about it. It's like, how, why do we have to buy vegetables? It's just a simple. Just because we were talking about the fact that I don't eat meat, and they couldn't get their head around the fact that I don't eat meat, asking me, "Are you poor?" but I just don't. I don't. And there was like, well, and then I was saying how it can be quite expensive if you don't do it yourself. That kind of talking about it. It's like, well, why do you have to buy vegetables, the plants that grow in the ground? Who owns the ground? Do we not belong to the ground? Are we not part of nature? Are we not part of, I mean, the Bushmen in the Kalahari, they have no concept of land ownership. They see themselves as being part of the land as a rock or a tree or the wildlife, the game, whatever it might be. And you just, when you get, what is human? And it's back to that question again. As humans, we're just part of nature. And I think that, and we were having a chat earlier, Dimi, around that sort of earthiness of Ubuntu. It's actually that connection with nature, that understanding that we're part of this wider cycle of things that are happening around us, and we don't really have. And if we bring all of that into our leadership, and if we bring that into our leadership, and we think about appreciation, truly appreciating people, being present with them in a conversation, really putting the focus in to talk to them. And I know we do it. We as leaders, we say, "Oh, we're going to be coaches. I'm going to be coached like as a leader." However, and I would ask this question of anybody who's watching, who endeavors to coach while they're coaching as a leader, how often are you truly present when you've asked a question, and how many times are you actually trying to think about the next question?
Yeah, it's great, a great question, Rick. And I love your connection with nature as well. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because you could look at a team or an organization as an ecosystem, couldn't you? Like it's its own little ecosystem or larger ecosystem. And yeah, and before you were asking about, or you were acknowledging the difference between managing and leading, and you know, and who are you? Asking your teams, who are they individually as leaders, and who are you as the leader of those leaders as well? Because we very much impact that ecosystem. We bring the environment, don't we? We can bring the sunshine, we can bring the rain, we can bring the storm through how evolved we are as humans and as leaders. So it's very much, for me, it's very much, and I'm hearing this from you as well, it's about the self-leadership piece first and foremost. Because it's like I believe you can't actually lead people to where you've not been to yourself. You don't have that. We all have this capacity, but, you know, are we driving, you know, how big is that capacity that we have? So we talk about business capacity, but what about our capacity as humans, as leaders? And when we're kind of filled up with this fear-based, toxic kind of leadership, there's not a lot of room there. Dimi, are you getting that Rick's gone a bit strange over there? Oh yeah, he's back.
No, he's here. He's coming.
Okay, great. Maybe that was my connection. And a sign for me to stop talking and hand it back to you, Rick.
Actually,
I was just going to say that I think that you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there, Sarah, because I just truly believe that my role as a leader is to create that environment for us to be able to cultivate other leaders, new leaders, and if we can till the ground and we can get the land fertile, then we can plant that little acorn, and if that acorn becomes an oak tree, and that oak tree becomes a really strong leader, then to have been part of just setting the ground ready for that leader to grow is probably it. You know, and again, back to Proverbs again. Another proverb would be, you know, communities only thrive when old men plant trees that other people are going to sit in the shade of. And I think that's really quite special, because actually it's not a quick win. It's not about getting a quick return. Leadership, you get no quick return from leadership. You know, you know yourselves that some of the leaders that have had the most impact on you are the ones that you didn't realize were having an impact on you at the time. It's only years later that you look back and you reflect on it and you think, wow, hang on a minute. That is why I'm here. And it's that, it's organic. And to me, that process of growing new leaders, or growing leadership capability, or growing people to be good followers, because to be a good leader, you've got to be a good follower. And I think that's, and again, otherwise you're a dictator, and you're an authoritarian or a dictator. So you've got to understand when to follow, when to lead, and actually you don't necessarily have an organization to be lead. Most of the time, I think it's around, again, that appreciation. It's I mean, Ubuntu, I am because you are. You know, I am here because you've acknowledged my existence. And without that acknowledgement, you're not here. You're nobody. You know, if somebody doesn't acknowledge you there, then you might as well be talking to nobody. And you know, he who was leading and has no one following is just taking a walk.
Exactly, man. I mean, so that's so true. And we're going to talk a little bit more about your chapter and all of these proverbs you have there, and the ideas you have there. Just a quick question before that. Tell us a little bit, because there are many books on leadership and there are many courses, whatever you want. If you go out there, you can find thousands of them. But what about this book specifically? You think it's very important and very unique, so that you decided to be part of it? And I guess you're a person of integrity, person of your values. So it seems to me that we're very connected to something here in order to participate in that. So what is that?
I think it's about changing the conversation. I think it's about moving us out of a loop. We're in this loop. I've just had a conversation this morning on a different call, and it was an awareness that someone brought, that someone brought, and it was like, actually, do you know something? We're having the same conversation. We're having the conversation that we should have had 25 years ago. Do we want to have that conversation now, to try to bring us up to a level in an organ, to a level when it comes to whether it be equality, diversity, whatever it might be? Do we want to be as current as we should have been 25 years ago, or do we want to actually break out of that loop and have the conversation now, bridge that gap, and start to talk about this paradigm shift in leadership which needs to happen? Leaders of the future, the leaders of today, and the leaders of the past are very, very different, and we've got to learn from that. We can't ignore that we've been there, because ultimately that's part of the evolution, is to learn from mistakes. Fail fast, fail forward, and fail quick, crack on, get moving, and start getting amongst it all, and trying to live and breathe some of this. You can read all the books, you can read all the leadership books in the world. However, if you don't have the courage to try and apply some of what you're learning into day-to-day business, then we're never going to evolve as leaders. And for me, it's about action. It's about take action, move forward. We don't need any more strategies. We don't need any more leadership. We don't need any because at the end of the strategy is only as good as the person who turns that strategy into action. And that's really important for me. We need to start doing stuff.
Yeah, I agree, Rick. And the more people I speak to who are either CEOs or they're speaking to other CEOs who are really, really wanting to embrace this new paradigm of leadership. But as you say, there's this gap. So they've got the desire. They know that they have to do it as well because of all the new policies and all of that side of things that are coming into play. And you just have to get on the bandwagon. This is what we must do to move forward, to move humanity and business forward. But there's this gap of like knowing in the head and then actually being able to walk the talk. And so what's required are more men like you and Dimmy and the other guys that are in this book and in other organizations and, groups out around the world, because there are many pockets, smaller communities rising up who are doing this work and talking about this same thing. It's almost like to share that knowledge with these people who, if you take climbing Mount Everest as a metaphor, it's almost like you guys have been to the peak and you come back down again. And there are some guys that are at base camp and they're not acclimatizing very well, or they've acclimatized and they're ready to start walking up the mountain. And then there's other people that aren't even at base camp or considering getting to base camp. So there's people at various stages of their journey. So I guess my question is, what could you offer to these people who know that they've got to go on the journey, or they've started the journey, but there is that gap between the head knowledge and the actually walking their talk? Like, what could you offer to them to help?
I think the key thing is first of all, I can offer coaching. I can offer that coaching to help bridge that gap. I know that the critical factor is that, and men in particular, we've got to be less proud about asking for help, about asking someone to give us that step up, and to not be afraid of showing a bit of vulnerability now and again, because do you know something? We're all vulnerable. And it's really important that we make sure that because once you do it, and again once you do it, the life just changes. And we've seen that. We know that happens. The key offer that I bring would be coaching in the form of a conversation. And the first thing that I would always want to talk about is, who are you? What's your purpose? What are you here for? What do you really want to achieve in this very small time you've got on Earth? Kalahari Bushmen and the Zulu in South Africa, they will often ask questions around the Sangomas, for example, who are like the medicine men type people. They will ask a question: what did you look like before you were born? And what are you going to look like when you've gone?
Yeah.
And that really centers you and realizes, do you know something? We haven't got a lot of time on this. We're a speck on history.
Absolutely.
And the only thing that makes a difference in history, and individuals and people who can make a difference, are people who actually use their time that they've got on Earth to the maximum benefit they can. And that's not about inventing something new. That's not about winning a war or being a prime minister or anything, or going to the moon or anything like that. We can make a difference to everybody every single day if we practice and if we're mindful of some of the concepts of Ubuntu, which is around that appreciation piece. Just having a conversation, when you speak to somebody in the checkout at the supermarket, whether you're paying for your fuel at the garage or anything like that, it's actually, look that person in the eyes and truly mean what you say. Don't say, how are you? All right, okay, cool. Have that conversation, and all it's about is that presence and that, because I guarantee you that person will remember you over the ones that don't do that. And then you don't know what's going on in that person's life and how much impact that one thing that you've done might have on the rest of their day or the rest of their life. You just don't know.
Yeah. And that's legacy, isn't it? Because, so often we can fall into the thinking that, I've got to be a billionaire to create a legacy, or I've got to have a massive organization or whatever. But actually, every single moment we are creating legacy with our thinking, with our speaking, with our actions. Yeah, so that's a really, really great point to make, Rick. I love that you're saying, it's vulnerability, and it's this capacity to be humble and to acknowledge that you don't actually have all the answers. And that's something that I think you have so much humility. It's incredible.
It is.
Do
definitely.
We still have him with us, or is he frozen?
No, he's a little bit frozen, but he's gonna come back.
Yeah,
he's gonna come back. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Sarah, that it is really remarkable how a person who has been doing so many things throughout the years is so. It just shows the reality of leadership. This is leadership. Like, you're getting it, you're doing things, you don't brag about that, but at the same time you are proud of what you did, and you have respect towards yourself, because there are some people who are doing a lot of things that they don't have respect for themselves, which is not okay. But you answered it very well. You said, I know what I did, I know what I have, and I guess this creates respect and appreciation towards yourself, but you don't need to brag about that outside. No. Because people see that, people know that when they see you, and people who work for you, I'm sure that they appreciate you anyways. So Rick, there was a little bit about your chapter. You mentioned so many things, different things about Ubuntu and the philosophy of that, but just walk through the chapter and your main message in the book.
So really, what I've written is a journey. It basically takes me ideally it takes the reader on that journey from how I really found who I am and what I do, and understand why I do it, and how I've closed a loop. And I suppose when you go on that journey, you start off somewhere as a pretty normal chap, pretty normal person doing normal stuff, and then just through complete accident, circumstance, you end up in a completely different place. And I take you through my time growing up in Botswana, and my transition to boarding school, and how I struggled with a couple of bits and pieces around that, cultural issues. I then went into the military and then the fire and rescue service, and how I was influenced in positive and negative ways by some of the leadership that I experienced. It talks about that one of the life-changing things for me was the point when I realized that, if you chase the money, you're going to be bitterly unhappy. And it's that understanding that, that I'm not being critical of people in general and humanity in general, but the reality of the world today is it's how many followers you've got on Facebook or something, and it's this false persona that is put out there that saying, look at me, everything's great, the world's great, look how great I'm doing, look how brilliant my life is, and if that was the case, if that is the case, then brilliant, I'm excellent, well done. However, a lot of the time it's not the case, and it's that I make reference to a lot of people are influenced by big cars, flash houses, and designer bags, and I'll make reference to that in the and I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm saying is that we've got to think about what is your real motivation for life as a leader. Is your motivation the next job, the next promotion? Are you just thinking about how you get more money? Because it's important. Of course, it's important. We all need to have money to survive and to live. But at what point and how many people actually stop and actually ask themselves, how much is enough? And from that, you end up, it drives behaviors. Certain things will drive certain behaviors, and as you get to that point where you're on pop stars wages and you're getting all of the stress and nightmare that comes with these senior leadership roles and all of this pressure that you're putting yourself under just so that you can have a little bit of a better car than the last job you had, or whatever it might be. It's at what point are you actually damaging yourself, as opposed to who are you? I mean, again, it's that who are you piece. Am I defined by where I live and what I drive and what my job title is, or where I sit on the hierarchy in our org chart? Does that define me, or am I defined by my actions that are outside of that? And I think that's what's key for me. I don't want to be defined as a head of change management, or I don't want to be defined as any of these highfalutin job titles or whatever it might be. And I wanted to be defined as by the stuff that I've done that's really going to make a difference. And that to me is the key. And I'm not, and when I say make a difference, not make a difference to me. It's to make a difference to humanity, to the world. And if by creating the environment in my teams, in this corporate world that I'm currently working in, that if by creating that environment for individuals to truly find their purpose, to understand who they really are, and to then become that, what we used to call in the military, the force multiplier. So if out of my team, one person goes away with just a tiny bit of Ubuntu, and then creates another leader, then my job's done. My work here is done. And that, I mean, one of the most rewarding things that I've ever had was speaking to people who I've either trained or mentored as younger members or newer members of some of the organizations I've worked in, and to find that they're actually way above me, and I'm like, you know something, I am so proud. That is what makes me tick. That to me is great, because just to know that I've been just a tiny little part of helping that person achieve their goal. And when I say up here, I'm not talking about hierarchy or structure or pay or wages or anything. Just up there in their own self-actualization, their appreciation of themselves, to know who they are and to really make a difference out in the world. That's really important for me.
Yeah, we lost him a little bit again, but he's gonna come back. So it's a great session so far, Rick. We just lost you a little bit, so that's why we.
Sorry about that. I don't know what
You're back. That's all right. Sometimes I mean it's a life, and it also is internet connection that happens, but that's all right. That's part of life, right? The imperfect
That's it.
world and life we have. So it's normal, and it happens with you, who is very connected with nature. So I guess it's some kind of sign that that's life, man. So I wanted to ask you one specific thing about your chapter, because I think one of the, in my opinion, one of the very important parts of being not even so much successful as fulfilled and happy in life is having respect towards yourself.
Mhm.
And finding this respect in yourself, it's so, I think, very challenging for people. And you talk about respect actually in the book, that if you don't have respect towards yourself, it's very hard to have towards others, or they to have towards you. So that's I guess it's my question, Rick. Um, how do you do that in life? And that's a great self-leadership trait to have, to know how to actually create this respect for yourself.
Yeah, I just go outside. I spend more time
Yeah.
outside.
Okay. Cool.
I like to try and eat well. I like to keep myself healthy. I like to I like to I like to walk, go out and go into a woodland and just sit and listen. And little things that you can do that just help you spend that time. It's amazing what you can get from just being outside in nature, and
Mm.
and breathing the fresh air. It's not always that easy in the city, etc. However, it's just that constantly, not only looking after yourself physically but mentally as well. You need to look after yourself, and I think to do that, you've got to almost self-coach on a daily basis. You've got to have those conversations with yourself, and and um, and and also part of that respect thing is learning from your interactions with other people. So what I say to my teams, and I have done for a long time, is that when you're with someone, whether you're coaching them or whether you're having a conversation with them, just take a couple of seconds to think about how that other person is experiencing themselves in your presence.
Mm.
Now that can be quite challenging, particularly if you let your ego run with it, because your ego is telling you that they think you're great. They think you're awesome, when in reality they might not be thinking that. And you've got to think, well, what could they be? What is it? What am I doing that's making them feel? How are they feeling by what I'm doing, what I'm saying, and how I'm being with them? And it sounds very, I don't know, it sounds very new age and all that. But the reality of it is, it's Ubuntu. It's about appreciation. It's understanding that in the moment with that person, you've brought each other into existence. So spend the time to understand how that person is experiencing themselves in your presence. That's the only way I can put it forward. But by doing that, you actually think about how you are, and you think about what you might be doing that you shouldn't be doing, and what are you not doing that you should be doing. It's that kind of self-critique all the time that needs to go on in your head, and then eventually it just becomes second nature. You don't realize you're doing it. You become an observer of your own emotions.
Yeah, it's that self-awareness piece, isn't it, Rick?
Yeah.
I mean, you made reference earlier to, it's been a great experience for you to actually write your own leadership story and get on the other side of your story. And it's really interesting, isn't it, that word story, because how many stories are we telling ourselves every day that we're not consciously aware of? And we have something like 75,000 thoughts a day, and we're only conscious of about 5% of those thoughts. And the subconscious is 1,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. And the subconscious is like a sponge. Like every single thing that we see, hear, experience just soaks into us. So it's almost that, it's that choice to start to be more aware, isn't it? Because it's a very simple concept, though it's not as easy in practice as it sounds. And Dimi and I have spoken about this with the other authors as well. And it's interesting that you mentioned presence, because we have a chapter in the book all about presence. Somebody's also written about vulnerability being a business strategy. And so these are very, very real things that we can do. And it's really that conscious choice, isn't it? It's saying, I'm getting this call, to be different. Am I going to answer the call? Yes, I want to answer it. And then what our brains do is they just go automatically into how, and that kind of closes it down. And that's the bit where we're inviting you into this space that it may not be so well defined at the moment, though when you're walking with other people who have navigated those territories, gone through, it's almost like cutting your way through the jungle. It's the path that's not so traveled, and it's the neural pathways as well, that we're creating new neural pathways. So it's fascinating that just all the different metaphors, I guess, we can use here.
I know.
And that really I think that for me, it's about reaching out to people who, if people don't have a leader like this in their organization, pick up this book, read it, and see who resonates with you, and ask. Because, Rick, you and the other guys, you've all told your, hero's journey through this book, through your chapter in this book. And you're all people who answered the call, and you made that choice to be different. And that's what we're inviting people into, aren't we? To choose something that's different. Yeah.
It's not, it isn't easy. It is not easy. It's hard going. To be different is hard. To do something that nobody else has done is hard. You've used the metaphor of cutting through the jungle with a machete. Yeah, absolutely. It's dead easy to follow somebody else who's already cut a path, but that other person might be cutting their way off a cliff edge for all you know. So, you've got to be careful and just think about where you want to go and use your own compass. And it's that compass piece. It's that moral and emotional compass to know where you are going to follow and look for your own true north. And that's how you navigate yourself through. And not everybody's going to have the same true north. It's the destiny isn't fixed. You write your own. It becomes, you write your own story, and that's really important. I think that it's really important that what myself and what the other guys are saying and I'm sure Dimi, you appreciate this, is what we're not saying is do it my way because it's great. What we're saying is do you know something? There is no right way. There's just a better way. Just find something that we can and work and to take the bits that you can use and try them out. Just try them out and see what happens. And unlike a process or a system or a piece of kit, if you were to introduce a new component into a machine, chances are it's going to break the machine. Or it's going to jam it up, or you're going to end up with a massive maintenance backlog for something that you've damaged because you've introduced a part that doesn't fit. With leadership, you're not going to break somebody. You're not going to break somebody by asking them a really good question, or through. It's just about understanding that people are like us. We are all the same. We are all the same, and if you're worried about it, just think what I think about it. What I think about it, my boss says, I'm not doing a great job. I want to try and do things a bit differently. I'm going to try and be more appreciative. I'm going to try and be more connected with you, and I'm going to want you to provide me with feedback to let me know how I'm doing. Is that going to break your team? It's not, is it?
No. Well, thank you, Rick. I think that's a great message for finalizing this call with you guys. It was great. I'm sure people they're gonna learn so much by just going again and listen to that call and the wisdom of Rick and Sarah. And just what we have co-created today with you guys can be very valuable for people. And yeah, just a small fraction of what we actually provide with the book. It's just a small fraction. So thank you guys for everything you shared with me and with the audience today. And I'm sure that we are going to have this is just the beginning, as we already said with Sarah, and we're going to have way more conversations with you and way more serving the world in a better way. So have a great time, and yeah.
Thanks,
See each
Dimi.
other
Thanks,
again.
Rick. Yeah,
Cheers,
and let's
bye.
continue the conversation, most definitely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.